Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Pierce, and this is Chemistry 151, Gen Chem 1. Now, what I'd like to do is to walk you through at least part of the Blackboard site. Now, if we take a look here, this is the entry point, which is Gen Chem 1 2024. And we go ahead and click on that. And since you're watching the video, you've already done that much at least. And so make sure that you are looking at the announcements every day, because there's probably going to be an announcement at least once a week, if not more. Now, they do get sent to your email inbox, so it's important that you always check your email at least once a day. You can find my contact information under instructor, my work phone, which is this one down here, 252-493-7812. That just goes straight to voicemail, and then I have an email account. I do try to answer my emails as soon as possible. Make sure you've read the syllabus. There's some important information there. Now let's look under content and assignments. There's three things that are going to pop up right away: required technology and introductory assignment. And the required technology, an important part is that you have the Respondus software and you give it a test. Now you should have the Authenticator app. If you don't, here's the details on how to download it. You just click on the box over here, and there it is. You can get the app on your phone. Respondus software, there are a couple things that are needed. There's options on how to take the test, how to download, and start the Respondus. Common mistake when you're using the Respondus is that you have to click on Respondus first before you take the test. Respondus will be used on all tests. All the rest of the stuff will not use Respondus, just the test and the final. So let's take a look at the course content. And we have welcome to Chem 151. That's what we're going over, at least partially right here. And I'm not going to read it all to you because you can read, but I would like to hit the important parts. The first part being that you need to check your email every day. It's the only way that I know, that you know, of upcoming assignments or changes, more importantly, in general course information. Now, this is asynchronous internet, which means we have no regularly scheduled classes. The videos, there are videos, that's what you're going to watch. Very important right here, there's no lab kit or lab supplies to buy or obtain. Everything we do is going to be what's called a dry lab instead of a wet lab. A wet lab means you're working with chemicals and such. A dry lab means I just give you the information to complete the lab. So we're going to be using a free textbook, Chemistry 2A. It's recommended that you just use the PDF because if you obtain the printed version, it's not free. And more importantly, the page number does not quite line up with the PDF version. We, in all assignments, are going to refer to the PDF version for the page numbers. Late submissions. There are assignments that are going to be due almost every day, even including the weekends. I'm sorry, there are assignments that due on the weekend, but we don't have very much time to get through the material. Assignments are due when they're assigned by 9 p.m. and they count for grade and attendance. And of course, attendance, you can't miss more than 14 days without having turned something in for attendance. Now, I will take late assignments, and the assignments remain open. In other words, I don't have a close date on them, but it's important that you get the homeworks, lab, and quiz in by the end of the chapter due date, which is the chapter quiz date. And that's just keep from falling behind. The last thing you want to do is fall behind. We do have tests. There are 4 of them. Of course, it's 10% for each test, 40% for the whole thing. They're online. and they're timed for 60 minutes. They're mostly multiple choice. There may be some true and false there. You cannot take the test after the due date. There's no makeup for missed tests. Now the submission, assignments, homeworks, labs, and quiz, yes, you can turn those in late, but the test, they must be taken by 9 p.m. on test day, and that you cannot make them up. Now, if you need to take it early, if you have a valid excuse, and I'm going to determine whether it's valid or not, you need to let me know. All right, here's the part that people really want to know about a lot of times, particularly at the end of the semester, is what's going to be dropped. Is there a grade replacement? Is there a curve? And we're going to go 3, 2, 1, which is we're going to drop the lowest 3 homeworks, the lowest 2 quizzes. We're not going to include those in the grade. In other words, we're not replacing them with anything. We're just going to drop them. And the lowest test grade, that's tests 1, 2, 3, and 4, the lowest test grade will be replaced by the final exam score if the final exam is higher. Now, there is no curve. I'm dropping all of these items and replacing. There's no curve, and there is no extra credit. So please don't email me asking, what can I do to pull my grade up from, say, an 84 to an 85? Well, there is no extra credit. The way you pull your grade from an 84 to 85 is do well on the test. And so once again, we have several different types of assignments. We have homework. I'll show you an example. Quizzes, they're due after the current chapter, and it's 10 or more random questions. Of course, we have the lab, and then this is an abbreviated explanation for lab. Now, there's how to write a lab report at the top and more examples of good labs. The big deal is that you need to include these headers here, which is objective, material, safety, conclusion. That goes on the cover page. And page 2 or more are for things like calculations and such. And like I said, I have some attached examples of good lab reports. All right, the tests are 60 minutes. They come from the text videos and reading problem assignments we'll be using Respondus Lockdown Browser for all tests. And the final exam is also going to use Respondus, but the final is 120 minutes. Now, the tests are right around 33 questions, give or take. A final exam is right around 55 questions, give or take. Now, if you see something that you feel has been graded incorrectly, misentered, or whatever, please let me know as soon as possible so I can go in there, figure out what's going on, and correct it. Now, if you find errors in the course material, such as, and this happens, we can have a image that's corrupted, and it'll just show, there's no image. It'll have like a X through it or something like that. And let me know so that I can go ahead and change that image out with one that works, that's not corrupted. And of course, I will give you credit if you find the error. All right, so this is the overview of what's going on with all this. And so we go to content and assignments. That's where you're going to find everything that you need. And of course, we have course content. Here we go. And the first thing you're going to do that you need is quiz 0. And that's just verifying you downloaded textbook and course schedule. And of course, it's graded. Everything is graded that you turn in. And we have test 1 material here. And the way it's set up is we have test 1 material, test 2, test 3, test 4. We have 4 tests. And then we have tests and final exam. Now, you will not be able to see all of it at one time. So if we look here, this is the student view. Go course content, and this is all that's available that you should be able to see right now, which is the quiz 0, which is due right away. Test 1 material, test 1. Test 1 you can see is empty, but that doesn't mean that there's not a test there. There is a test there, you just can't see it just yet. Test 1 material, we've got chapters 1, 2, and 3. I'm only showing chapter 1 for now. got videos, PowerPoints, we've got the homework. And the homeworks you submit here where it says homework. You download the attached file, you do what it tells you to do, write everything out, and then submit it. And here's what a typical reading and problem assignment or homeworks look like. And if you look, it's a series of tasks such as reading. There's a question. There's question 1, question 2, problems 8 through 17. Be sure to include the questions. Okay, they look at times like a lot. Most of the reading and problem assignments can be finished relatively quickly, so don't get concerned because it looks long. They're really not long, but they are complete in the sense of this is what you need to do at a bare minimum to do well in a course. And so that's what reading and problem assignments, otherwise known as homeworks. And we generally have 2, although some chapters have just 1 homework. One of the chapters has 3 homeworks. It just depends on how I feel like we need to split it up. And so here's lab 1. It includes PDF for the lab itself, how to write a lab report, more examples. Okay, you want to turn in the lab, and the lab looks like this right here. And you need to read it carefully because there's important information in here, like on how to do significant figures and such, how to read a scale. And then when you get down here, the procedure is where you start. And you follow directions like procedure 1, measure the length and width of the lab book and inches round to 1 decimal place. Attention to detail is very important. It is 1 decimal place on the inch side. And on the millimeter side, and we go on down here, and we're going to do the same thing on the millimeter side, and that's measured in with 2 decimal places. All right, and then of course we get the area. So it's very important that we pay attention to detail of what the lab is asking you to do. And so we're being asked to read various measurements. And then we're asked to calculate density of antifreeze. And there are some discussion questions here. Now, when you do the discussion questions, make sure you write out the question. How many sig figs are each of the following? You go A, 76.0, and then your answer next to it should be 3 SF, or 3 significant figures. Trailing 0 is not being significant unless there's a decimal somewhere. So 76.0 is 3 SF. So you write down A, 76.0, 3 SF, and you do that for all your answers. And that's what you need for turning in your lab. And of course, we have the quiz. And the quiz is due by May 19th. You can do the quiz anytime you want, but I would suggest doing it towards the end of the chapter when you've already done the homework, the homeworks. Okay, so you just hit begin, and usually the quizzes are 10 questions. I think there's one that's like 11 questions. All right, so that's what you can see here. This is what you can see right now. And so we have test 1 material, chapter 1. Here they all are. All right. And the due dates on these, I do have the due dates on them, but the due dates could change. And of course, that's going to be under announcements. Here's your first one, Chem 151, chapter 1 due dates. And of course, we have 17 May through 19 May. Being the nature of this particular course, we have assignments due almost every day, and they all count for a grade, and they all count for attendance. Attendance being very important. You miss 14 days or more, we have to drop you from the class. All right, so there it all is there. And of course, we have, when you take your test, you're going to have a periodic table and a formula sheet. You need to print them out. We'll go ahead and exit preview so we can actually see. And we have, let's see, let's go back to content and assignments. Go to course content. And here's test number 1. And you can see right here, it says, you know, it's going to be available on the day of. So it's due May 29th. It opens midnight, May 29th. It closes at 9 o'clock on May 29th. That's when it's due. It's 60 minutes. Now it'll stay open after the test, so you can use your previous tests to study or review. Make sure you have periodic table, formula sheet, and scratch paper. And of course, we're using Respondus. And don't forget, before you click on test 1, and it's going to let me do it because I'm the instructor, but it will give you an error which says you need a password. That just means you need to start the Respondus application before you hit test 1 to take it. Okay, and so the tests 1 through 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 60 minutes, and the final is 120 minutes, and they all have this same listing right here. Alrighty, so what do we have due right away? So we look underneath either the schedule, or we can look at the announcements. But here we can see, you know, for the first chapter 1, we have 15th of May, we're getting started. We got 17th, 18th, 19th. We got homeworks, got the lab, got the quiz. Get them done, turn them in. Don't get behind. Don't get behind. And don't take a 0. Zeros will ruin your grade. Now remember, these also count for attendance and such. And you can see we have all the way through 10 July, and 10th of July, which will be here before you know it. That's the final exam. If you have any questions about this, please email me and let me know if you have any questions.